talk about you, to give a slight introduction to you. We both came across you by doing Hot Breath right in the thick of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Can I
Yep.
finish introing him now?
You sure? You know
Everyone,
what?
please
Wait,
welcome
wait,
to the
hold on.
show.
No, hold
hang
on,
I'm
hold
gonna,
on. Let me
gonna go
think
ahead
about.
and there we go. I figured out I can mute Ricky, so now Ricky's muted. Everyone, welcome to the show. Host of Hot Breath and friend of the show, everyone. It's Joel Byars. You're free now, Ricky.
Yay! Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm fans of both of you as well. And actually, I first crossed paths with Glenn when I was trying to figure out how to self-produce an album back in, was it 2019 or 2020?
Yeah,
Glenn,
I think it was the end of 2019.
into
We both,
2019.
Joel, unbeknownst to you and
Yeah,
I,
you
we
guys have
both
that in
hit
common.
Glenn up like at the exact same time.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's Glenn wrote basically just the end all be all of if you want to self produce an album. It's really
Yeah.
the best resource out
I've really
there.
got to
for that.
update that thing because now, so I wrote it. My first album I put out in 2016, and at the time, self-releasing and self-producing audio super easy, still is. But now, so is video is also pretty easy. It's a little harder, costs a little bit more, but it's
Mhm.
doable now in a way that it wasn't in 2016. Like if you wanted to throw a few grand at it in 2016, you could make it happen.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I don't know. Everyone's got a pretty good camera on their phone. Like just get 3 or 4 friends to let you borrow their phone for an evening.
Wait, you got to get 3 or 4 friends?
Friends,
Yeah, that's the real challenge.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to get people to show up at the
well,
show.
we actually all are now daddies. Welcome to the club, Joel,
Yeah, thank you
of
so
being
much.
a father.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing this, to avoid my family.
Glenn, you know, of all the times we've talked about like reaching out to you and that fantastic article you wrote that Joel and I disregarded after reading, and we were like,
No,
"Oh,
Joel
produce
stuck
it
with
yourself."
it.
He did.
He didn't.
But we both.
He didn't reach out to be like, "Hey, do you want to produce my thing?" He's like, "No, this is coming out. I found your
okay.
article. I thought I would check in." And we were talking about it. Ricky hounded me until I produced his album. Joel.
I beat him down. Joel, did you, after reading that article, I thought it was a fascinating article, and I don't think I've ever said this to you, Glenn. I then listened to your album because I was like, you know what? This is a great article, but I don't know that I'm going to reach out to this dude if I don't think he's funny. Yeah, he might be really good, like business savvy, like in writing this article and extremely helpful. But like, man, if this dude, in my opinion, like if I listen to this and this dude sucks, like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to reach out to him.
that's a good point. I really just trusted it at face value. I did not dig deeper.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe you were worried. Maybe you're like, I don't want to watch this. What if he is terrible?
Yeah, it's like I don't want to ruin the mystique. Yeah, but it was
sorry, the 7-year-old walked in with a pressing question.
Sure.
I absolutely think you should take into account whether you think the person is funny in anything. Like any advice-based thing. If I don't think you're funny, I'm not going to listen to your advice. Like, why would I? I don't think you're good at the thing that we are trying to do.
That's the nerve-wracking thing about any time, like I'm on the road doing a show or even locally, and like someone really likes the podcast, because now I'm like, oh no, if this doesn't go well, then the whole show is ruined for them.
Yeah,
it's like
I've had that happen when I show up places and people are like familiar with the Dry Bar, and it's like, oh, okay. Dang, I was really hoping I could just coast tonight, but now I feel like I have to do a good job for your benefit. I always want to do a good job,
of
but
course, of course.
Have you ever not wanted to do a good job?
Yeah.
Has there ever been? Okay.
There have been times where I am angry at the audience before I get on stage.
Why?
And I will still do the job, right? Yeah. But I don't want them to have a good time. Ooh. So
what a sadist.
I think I've told the story. It's the worst I've bombed. I think I've talked about. I was doing a show for firefighters.
Yes.
And when they booked me, they're like, "Oh, it's the 100th anniversary of our firehouse. We're going to celebrate. It's going to be a big dinner." I'm thinking like, "Oh, local community event. Everyone loves the firehouse. People are going to come out. I get there and it's like we've all done shows in firehouses. It's like the big ballroom where you rent it for a wedding when you can't afford a better venue. So you could fit a couple hundred people in here.
You are
easily.
Are you pissy this morning?
Yeah.
Like you are throwing people under the bus. You know, people that can't afford like really nice places have to go do it at the firehouse, like the trash heap they are. They got to know somebody.
You could easily fit several hundred people in here, but they didn't. It was just the firefighters. It was the 10 to 15 firefighters.
Oh yeah.
So I get there and they're like, all right, we're going to do it in here. Dinner's going to be in a little bit. And I was like,
didn't that feel like
great.
did that feel like a reverse strip situation where you were the one normal dude and it was a bunch of firefighters? You're just like, wait, are you all 15 going to strip? Is this going to be a choreographed thing going on here?
That would have been better. I don't think I would have loved it, but
it would have been weird, but like.
So I'm expecting at any minute they're going to open doors and, you know, people from the town are going to come in. No, they're like, all right, we're going to start. And I was like, where is everybody? They're like, this is everybody. And I was like, what do you mean?
Gosh.
And they're like, oh yeah, the dinner's just for us. I was like, oh.
Only for us.
So they had like big round tables set up. They weren't all seated together at them. They were in 3 or 4 smaller groups spread out throughout a pretty big room. There wasn't like a PA or anything. They told me there would be. There wasn't. And then they're just like, all right, man, go ahead. And I was like, oh, all right. And it was like, I got this gig because the chief of the firefighter knew like my dad's cousin, or like there was some loose connection where I was really sold to these people. I was like, oh, Glenn's great. And look, in context, I'm pretty great. This is not the context in which I thrive. So
when I remember to the story, didn't they show, or is this a different time where they showed the montage of all of the firefighters who had died?
Different weird firefighter show. So there's just 15
That's the one I knew. I didn't know this
spread
one.
out throughout a very big room, and I'm just yelling jokes at everybody. They're not enjoying it, clearly. I'm supposed to do a half an hour, and I do because I will talk for however long I'm supposed to so that you can't justify not paying me.
Yeah, the money.
At one point, a dude a couple tables over pulls out a phone, and I can hear that he's looking up stand-up comedy clips that he enjoys more.
Oh, my gosh. That's worse than heckling.
And then at the end, the chief walks me downstairs to pay me, and there's like a little rec room with like couches and a pull down screen and a pool table, and I was like, oh hey man, just so you know for next time, and don't ever do this again, but if you did this in this room, it would have been, everyone would have had a better time. And he's like, well, we can't because this is where the stripper's gonna be. And I was like, you guys are gonna like that a lot more. All right, you guys have fun with the stripper, you absolute weird.
And he was like, no, this is where you are going to strip.
Right.
Well, I knew there was going to be a stripper. Somebody told me beforehand. So I tried making the joke that I was the stripper. And not only did they not like the joke, they seemed genuinely angry at the thought that it would be me. And I was like, guys, just eat your bad chicken and shut up. I've never had a worse time doing comedy, but like from the moment I realized it's just these firefighters, I'm like, oh, I don't want this to go good anymore. Like you guys messed up so bad.
It would have been them telling me that a stripper is after you. I think I would have rationalized it and been like, oh, okay, so man, this is just gonna be like Lenny Bruce, right? Not the comedy, but like doing something vaudeville, strip club, it's a little bawdy. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like we can have fun with that. But I do think in the back of my mind, I would just be like, not offended, just personal feeling of just being like, oh, they're gonna have the little jester come out for all the men before they bring out the woman, and they're like, take off your, like, I would just be like, oh. Anyway, I swing this. This is like, I'm sure you did. This is just work. Got to get through that half hour.
Sometimes you just have to talk for 30 minutes until you get paid, and then
no mic is insane.
Yeah, and they told me there would be one because like I bought a PA system pretty early on because it's like, oh, sometimes I've shown up places and the sound is bad.
Mm-hmm.
These are pretty affordable. I can just then, like, I'm doing 2 shows this weekend where each one is like, there's sound there, but we don't know if it's going to be good or not. So I was like, don't worry about it. It loads up in my car pretty easily. If we need it, it's there. The other benefit is I can charge people to bring it.
Exactly. Yeah. I did a country club recently where they said they had their own sound, because I charge extra to bring my own sound to events like that. And I got there and it was a JBL
Anyone listening,
speaker.
that's a great business tip for someone starting off, and
For
you are
sure.
starting to leave your hometown to do some maybe road shows. Even if you
Mhm.
throw like 3 of you together in a car, each doing 20 minutes, stretching your legs, or having your own sound equipment, that's a good investment.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I've definitely made back my money on my PA system.
Same.
But yeah, basically they had a JBL speaker, and that was their sound system. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, he literally like handed it to me. He's literally like, oh yeah, here's our PA system. I was like, what is happening?
He hands you a soda. Like, he's like, it's a
Oh,
Bose.
The
We're gonna
worst
put
one
it in
I've
the
ever
back.
done.
I fortunately
was
brought mine just in case, because I figured something like that may happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I was
Mic
doing
stand. That's such a weird one too. The
Yeah.
lack of places that
and
have
mic
a mic
stand's
stand.
easy because you can just keep that in your car all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have a tiny Honda Fit, so like if I put the PA system, that takes up the back seat. But the mic stand, I can keep that in the trunk all the time, and then I get somewhere because I don't need it most of the time. But like if I'm doing the bit where I make everybody yell at Dan Huff, it's like, well, I need to put the mic in the stand for the walk-off part. So if there's not one, it's kind of an issue. But I did a corporate gig where I was telling jokes on a moving bus as they were being transported from work to some retreat. And they gave me like a Five Below Bluetooth karaoke microphone with like the speaker built into the
Mhm.
mic.
It's basically a Fisher Price.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to yell. I'm not using it. It had like it would light up as you talked. And I was like, no, I will not be participating in this.
And I don't ever like coming off like a diva. Like out of all of us and a lot of the comedians, Kim Sherwood, who I've done many a show with, are way more particular than I am. I understand the psychology of a better setup, and you're setting yourself up, and for a lot of different reasons. But I could be very minimalist. But when I come somewhere and I have already asked, and it's like, what is your sound system, or do you have all this, this, and this? And I get there and they're like, oh, actually, we don't have a mic stand. Is that an important thing? And I'm just like, yeah, kind of. But if you don't have it, it's that Jerry Seinfeld thing of like, I'll have the apple pie. And then the waitress comes back and she's like, we're all out of apple pie. And he goes, well, then cancel it.
Cancel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his wife laughs.
Just
like,
yeah,
that's a good wife right there. He's like, well, you can't cancel something that didn't exist. And he's like, all right.
Glenn Tickle's number one favorite comedian subject. Jerry
Yeah, we can talk about
Seinfeld.
that documentary all day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But so we mentioned we bring you up a lot, Joel. A big part of that is because well, the three of us all have dry bar specials.
Watch
but
them all.
You've mentioned on your show, Hot Breath, a lot of times that you're leaning full in on clean, right? Like that's the business model going forward.
Yeah.
And I work clean most of the time, always happy to when asked, but I don't like billing myself as clean comedian Glenn Tickle, and I can't really figure out what it is that I don't like about it. So we talk about it most weeks of like, what does it even mean? Why do people like it? Is it worth, because I'm not going to show up and, because it just feels rude to me to just like show up at a place I've never been, meet a bunch of strangers and start swearing at them. Like, it just seems not how I was raised, but
right. That's you. Like, that is your morality. That is your makeup of similar thing. For me, I don't always feel like I need to have somebody else believe in how I feel, but there are certain things where I'm like, this is me. I'm not saying anybody else should do it. When a woman comes into a room, I stand up. Like, I just I pull out a chair, like I hold the door open for people.
I actually make them sit down.
Yeah.
There are certain things that that are inside of me. I'm just like, well, this is what I feel comfortable doing. If somebody else doesn't do it, that's fine. I have different degrees of where I would place importance of things like that on. But when it comes to entertainment and performing, if something isn't marketed clean, I also am respectful of, I will always ask a venue, is there any restrictions or anything that you don't want said or whatever. So I'm respectful when it comes to that. I also have a compass of like the bad boys of comedy, of like the mothership comedians and the Kill Tony. Like, that's not my cup of tea, but I'm not gonna be like, those people should be sequestered and never be able to talk about what they want to talk about. So yeah.
Wow, Joel, great answer.
Yeah. To what
But
question?
what made you want to like
All of it.
What made you decide to like really fully lean into doing clean?
Well, I was always naturally clean anyway. Like I was never dirty coming up. Even when I was doing shows at like strip clubs and hookah bars and stuff, like I was always just me essentially. And that's just what came off authentic to me. Early on, it wasn't an intentional decision to be like, I'm gonna go up there and not curse or offend people. It was more just what I was naturally drawn to in my own sense of humor. But now, you know, when you do this long enough and it's your full-time job, you do figure out the business side of it and be like, okay, I'm a product. How can I promote myself as a product? With people who are looking for product A, how can I be that product for them? And ever since, really just, and it is interesting to hear clean comics. I've heard so many clean comics in interviews be like, but I don't say I'm clean, or like I'm clean, but I don't want people to know I'm clean. And I, for a long time, was in that mindset of, you know, I don't want to say I'm clean. I just want people to be pleasantly surprised. But I started booking stuff that was exclusively looking for clean comedy.
Yeah.
And I have found, honestly, like my website is now clean comedy. I've really tried to have more search relevance when people do look for clean comedy. And I just literally 2 weeks ago booked an event at a resort where they Googled clean comedian in Georgia, and I popped up in the AI overview. When you Google, I was the first comic that came up in the AI overview of clean comedian.
So the robots know about you.
So like, yeah, I'm
yeah, of course.
Skynet's coming for Joel.
They're like, we know he won't be offended. He won't be offensive. So it has been a good business decision, just, and I'm booking more stuff just from people looking for clean comedy, especially now. Like Ricky mentioned with Kill Tony being like the biggest show in the world and it's being all edgy. I think there is an opportunity for, like, the example of Nate Bargatze, highest grossing comedian last year, over $80 million. It's like, oh, if you could just find a little sliver of that pie.
I don't want the whole pie. I just want a bite.
1% of that 80 million, and you're doing great. So it's it wasn't intentional at first, but now it is just part of how I promote myself, and it's been helpful, really.
Between the three of us, I am the starting off in stand-up 2005. My first 5 years of stand-up, I did no personal material. I did not have an understanding of identity. I knew things that I liked, and that's how I wrote. Very 100% false setup, premise. As I got older, I started trying to find my voice. But out of the three of us, I am still the one that's like, what is the persona? What is the closest persona that I like doing on stage that also feels like it's the best, most entertaining version of me? Hearing you say that, Joel, early on, did you recognize your persona of like almost like a Jack McBrayer, like Kenneth from 30 Rock? I'm not saying that you look, the first hot breath you had me on.
What are you doing?
Well, the first hot breath you had me on, I think I called you Topher Grace or something, and I was like, you're such a gentle, like, white boy. Like, there's just such a, like,
I get that after a lot of shows. I've had Jack McBrayer, I've had Dana Carvey.
Okay.
I mean, just the least intimidating white dude you could think of. People come up after and be like, you remind me of this very approachable white man who Could not harm a butterfly.
I
But
get
did
Seth
you
Rogen a lot. I feel like you probably do too, Ricky.
Oh yeah, even
Yeah.
when, especially when I was heavier.
Yeah.
But well, now that Seth is getting skinnier, I get that as well. But Joel, did you early on? Did you recognize that? So like the juxtaposition of someone who looks like you, who is naturally just clean, kind of based on what you gravitate towards or come up with of who you are as a person in your life. Did you early on recognize that and lean into that when you were doing things like bars? Like, whereas a lot of your early material, like, I know what I look like to you all, blah, blah, blah. Is it bring your kid to the bar day? Like,
Oh yeah, it was. Honestly, I didn't really become self-aware until several years later. I mean, even my first special that I released 10 years into comedy, it's
trophy husband?
Trophy Husband, available for purchase on my website,
Good,
joelbyerscomedy.com.
good plug. Good plug.
Yeah. So that is something that, I mean, more recently I've become more self-aware. It took me a long time to even think about who am I? Where's this kind of like the filter? What is like the context of my material? Or in early shows, I mean, you're just trying to survive. You're just trying not to drown in the 5-minute set you're doing at midnight on a Tuesday. I mean, maybe
It's
when I
funny.
was,
The shorter sets are the ones that I feel like I drown more, that feel like they last forever. I can go up there and do 45 minutes and have a beginning, middle, and end, or, can navigate it better than being like,
Yeah.
all right, you have 3 minutes. I'm like,
I know.
all right, 3 minutes.
So much to cram.
I would always rather do an hour than 10,
Yes.
Yeah, but it never, early on, I was not self-aware. I was just kind of writing what I thought was funny. And I mean, I would have jokes like, when I would be like the only white guy, I would address it and things like that. But beyond that, there was no real like awareness beyond just like don't die on stage, basically.
Use whatever is in your toolbox. But did you ever feel a moment that you're like, okay, well, what if I did curse here, or what if I did spice up some innuendo because of maybe they don't expect that, the surprise? I just saw a Jesselneck clip where he asked Christian Shaw, true or false, all comedy is based on surprise. And she said false. And then he told, of course, it's Jesselneck. So then he told her why she was wrong. But
interesting
You
question.
guys are never going to
Yeah.
believe which one of those two I would rather take comedy with.
To say all comedy, I don't know.
To
That's
say all comedy, right?
yeah, that's a bit too much for me.
Saying all comedy, whatever you're
all
saying about
anything.
all comedy, or
Yeah.
you're wrong. Like
All comedy
Sure.
is based on
a
surprise.
lot of
All
comedy is
True or
based on
false?
surprise. Yeah,
Yes.
True or false.
Yeah.
Now let's all do our Christian Shaw. I can't.
You're wrong, Anthony.
You're wrong, Tony.
And I would say a lot of her comedy specifically is based on surprise. Like a lot of it is like, oh, it's weird that she's doing a bit with a birdcage on stage. I'm pretty surprised that's happening.
Oh my gosh, that the girl in the audience heckling her, and then her being like, "If you think it's so easy, come on stage and do it." And then the girl gets up there and kills. So funny. And I know, like, I've seen how the sausage gets made in comedy. And even watching that, I suspended my disbelief of knowing it was a bit and just being like, I am in. This is amazing. Even not even watching it live in person, just watching it taped. I was just like, I could never do that, I don't think, but
Yeah.
I think there's a real space for that style of comedy now more than ever too, of just it's similar to Steve Martin got so big because comedy was so political and it was so serious and it was so message driven, a lot like right now, where it's all there. Yeah, have a political opinion or you got to be edgy and dark or whatever. So Steve Martin was kind of the antithesis of where comedy was at the moment, and people just loved that silly relief that his comedy was. And then he went on to do arenas and all sorts of amazing.
I think juggling played a bigger part in why Steve Martin blew up so much than people give it credit for.
Oh yeah.
Well, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I did a cruise gig, and one of the other acts on the show was a juggler, and I'm good at comedy, right? Like the people had a good time at the comedy show, but they were maybe 5% as engaged as they were with watching the juggler. And I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah,
and like
it's action, it's moving pieces. That's
Right.
why I like a more theatrical stand-up than a person who's
I've talked about it on
stands
stage
the mic.
before. I describe that I juggle at what I would call a semi-professional level, and there is like a slightly different universe where pretty much everything else is exactly the same, but I went into juggling instead of comedy, and I feel like
1 inch to the left.
it was like that or Magician. It was like a real tiny sliding doors moment
So wait,
away.
we did all three of us have the crappy little like $10 magic kit as a kid?
For sure. Yeah, I had several.
I didn't. No.
No? Oh.
But I
Were
didn't
you
like
the
it because
magician's assistant?
I didn't like the little cheap ones because I was like, no, I need the real shit.
Well, it's so funny. Like guitars and drum sets or magic sets, like as like a smaller child, I had the same thing. Like we went into Gatlinburg had this really, really cool magic shop, and they had a magic wand. Things I had only seen on like television, like an actual, like you pull the flower out of it wand. And I was like, we got to buy that. My parents like, no,
It's going to change my life.
Yeah, I was like, you think I am at like maybe a 10th of the greatness I could be. Buy me that
You're
one.
holding me back.
Yeah. And they're like, no, you're a fool. And like guitar, like any musical instrument, I'd be like, I need a full-on drum set. And they're like, we're going to get you a snare drum.
Like if we're going to get you a rubber pad that you can practice on. That's what you're supposed to start with. And it's quiet. Because when my older daughter was at the age where her school was like, oh, she can start doing music lessons, we're like, you can pick one instrument. And then she's like, I think I want to do drums. And we're both like, do you? The loud one? That's what? And I was like, oh, well, no, because you start with like the little thing. And like if she gets good at that, then by the time she actually moves up to like a real drum, if she sticks with it, by the time it's loud, she'll probably be pretty good at it.
And then she's just playing Wipeout all the time.
Yeah. She ended up going guitar for a bit and then switched it up to clarinet.
So I think that is part of with my ADHD, but I think that's what's so gratifying to me as a creative and as someone who loves spontaneity. That's why stand up, even though it's not my favorite creative art expression, is still attractive to me. The live entertainment. I've never had stage fright.
Yeah.
I've been like, oh, I really want to do well because of XYZ, but I never have been like, oh, I don't know if I could go out and talk to 10 people or 1,000 people. Like that number means nothing.
I will worry whether a show is going to go well or not.
Yes.
Based on, well, like this could lead to other opportunities. Like I've been doing cruises lately and it's like, well, I want these to go well so they keep having me back. I'm not worried about having to stand in front of the 800 people in this theater. It is just like, well, if they all laugh really hard, then they're probably going to book me again. And if they don't, if they only laugh, a pretty decent amount, then they might not have me back. It's the same thing when I do college showcases. It's like the part where I have to do comedy for 10 minutes in front of these people is the thing I'm least worried about right now. Because I've done it enough times where it's like, no, that's going to go fine. And if it doesn't, then that's an outlier. Like that's the statistical anomaly where it's like, not that I never bomb, but like it happens infrequently enough that it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a bad show and like beat myself up for 3 months. It's like, oh, weird. That one didn't go good like it normally does. I wonder why. And then I try to figure out what was different about it. And sometimes it's because it's 15 drunk firefighters who've made a poor decision in their entertainment for the evening.
Yeah, early on, I would hate myself for a month after bombing. But now it is more of just like, oh, interesting. I wonder what happened there.
Yeah. I wonder what you guys did wrong that you didn't like that more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to beat yourself up when you're starting out because you've not done that many shows. If you've done 20 shows and you've bombed at 5 of them, then it's like, it's not.
No baseball, man. That's a great percentage.
If you show up, right, but if you know you've done a horrible job 25% of the time, then that's a real chance.
I've told
that any
you,
show
I
you go
think
up and
I
do-
should quit.
I know.
I'm telling you.
I keep bullying Ricky into not giving up on comedy, at least until October.
No, I'm figuring out. We can't announce the show that Glenn and I are doing. It has really kicked me in the pants to. I mean, I can say here, as we've talked about it, and then this will get to the nitty gritty of the question we wanted to ask you, Joel, that we've already touched on. Is for this next show, I'm not. This next
Fully
hour
nude.
that I'm building,
It's all out there.
I would feel comfortable. Like I would be okay.
I'll put you in touch with Billy Procida, the guy who books the Naked Comedy Show.
But I don't think. Again, I want to entertain the audience, and that's been my biggest struggle. I want to be authentic, and I want to be the funniest or most entertaining version of myself on stage with how I approach humor, the same way I do in my films that I've made. I want to do that more live. So, but this next hour that I'm working on towards this date that Glenn, that we're sorry, vaguely have said now, I think 2 episodes that we can't talk about yet in October. I hate that. I hate vague book posting, so I don't like doing it.
Soon, my baby.
Soon.
We'll tell you soon.
But I've gone, okay, I am wanting to do a looser, more improv / written material, or that thing the sausage is being made, like Ian Bagg. It makes it feel like it's a new show every time, but it's very calculated. I want to bring that talk show vibe and that looseness and spontaneity that's in me, with also sprinkled in with one-liners and bigger bits that do show who I am. And that's going to be clean now. I was having that weird, strong, like push and pull, and I looked at all the jokes that I wrote. I sent the one-liners to support the bigger bits. I sent them to Glenn.
Oh yeah, I never wrote back, but
no, it literally was me just being like, I'm putting these out into the world. I did a writing session of 2 days of just like, what are the most one-liners off of these bigger storied bits that I can think of, and they all came out clean. Like there's sometimes a little bit of a dip into an innuendo and stuff, but the hour that I'm putting together, inspired by late night talk shows, which was this is before the Colbert stuff, and so it's not there's not going to be any political. So now that's my only. It's my one worry is like with promoting this, that maybe some people are going to be like, oh wait, is this political? Because I'm not. I like political comedy. That's not my best. But so anyway, I am leaning into the clean, but I'm not going to market it clean. The promos is going to say it is late night talk show clean. And that's just because it is what it is. And this is an hour. I'm treating this as its own thing. That's not to say that the next hour might not be more adult natured and would be, I would want to advertise so people don't get confused of what they're coming to see or disappointed, like based on Dry Bar. Joel, what is clean to you? What does clean mean? Because the struggle for also us or me, I think it's coded. I don't think you always have a clear-cut answer, because I could talk about something that could offend somebody at a quote-unquote clean show. Like if I talk about my wife and I flatulating and the rules that we have about our bed at this clean show, I perceive that as clean, but someone could be highly and vocally offended.
For sure. Yeah, it's so subjective. Honestly, I had a friend who he does a lot of churches, and he did one church where they were drinking beer, and then he did another church where they got upset with him for saying the word beer.
Yeah.
Both clean shows. It's like completely subjective, and that's why anyone that asks me, like a comic or whatnot, if they're booking a clean show and they're like, is this joke clean or not? It's like best practice is to ask the booker, does this fall within the definition of clean for your specific event? But my personal definition is basically no swearing, nothing political, basically nothing that is divisive or going to make anyone uncomfortable in the room, really. It's just
how do you know what that is? For you. I'm not saying you're telling other people. I'm saying as we're talking about how we want to present ourselves and the things that we feel comfortable talking about, or how we talk about it, and the word choices we use for entertainment purposes, knowing your audience. How do you decide what is divisive?
I mean, well, definitely anything political. And it's interesting. I just did an interview, and the lady asked me if clean comics can do political comedy, which I thought was an interesting.
That doing anything political would negate its cleanliness.
Or just,
I don't think I agree with that. But
I don't think it's.
I don't either.
Go off,
but,
King.
but the comfortable. We've talked about that. Glenn has defined it as he thinks clean means comfortable. I think clean means coded.
Yeah, I think so. Just to summarize, we've talked about it before, but for your benefit, Joel, I think ultimately what people say they like clean comedy is they are looking for safe, not challenging comedy, which again is fine. Like I've compared it to my youngest daughter does ballet.
Challenging?
If I go to see my kid's ballet recital, I'm expecting one thing. If somebody is out doing like wild avant-garde, they're like rubbing meat on their face while they're like dancing to dubstep, and I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought I was getting into. This is.
But then what if they're like, that's ballet, you uncultured swine, that is ballet, you just experienced.
Then I don't like it. You know, like that.
But that's fine. And then you don't like it. But you don't say all ballet is bad. The ballet I saw, I did not jive with.
But if someone comes to see comedy and I'm trying to think. So like when I did Good Grief, like it's an hour of comedy about my brother. Most of it is clean, but it is about my brother dying in a car accident. So it's like when I was trying to do some of that material on regular shows, people are turning off. They're like, oh, no, thank you. So that's why I had to start touring it as like a separate thing where it's like, I think I swear a couple of times in it, but like nothing in it is particularly dirty or graphic. It is just like the general topic precludes a lot of people from wanting to watch it, which I understand.
And you also at one point just start dramatically or singing the lyrics to, is it Boys to Men, when you're just like, I swear.
Never.
By the...
I will never sing publicly.
I know. I didn't know this about Glenn. I just discovered
my biggest
this.
fear, Joel.
Singing?
And it's so funny.
I won't do it.
I agree with you though, in that clean comedy is basically like comfortable, in my opinion. You know, I do a monthly show at a theater here in the Atlanta area, and it's promoted as clean-ish.
Yeah.
So it's people can expect to hear certain words and maybe some topics, but nothing graphic or nothing that
lascivious,
controversial. But I think comfortable is a good. It's like, you know, if I'm doing a birthday party in like a week.
I'm doing one Saturday.
Say what?
I'm doing one Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going in between the cake and dinner, and they wanted me to do 30, and I was like, maybe 15. But I don't want to drag this out.
I'm doing several short sets over the course of a 6-course meal.
No way. Even Glenn described this last episode, and he's just like, yeah, no, it turns out I think that's going to be good. I was just like, okay.
When she proposed it, I was like, oh, no, actually, can we do it literally any other way than what you just said? But the way she described the rest of the evening, I was like, oh, actually, I figured out how I can make this work. So that's
well, we talked now. You turned it into This Is Your Life, and you're kind of using like commercial breaks, but with like each segment has its own theme. So that's
I'm not
you are a smart
starting
person.
over with just regular stand-up 6 different times. That would be insane.
I'm
just kind of
MC,
like
I am your
hosting
host.
the evening, moving things along, throwing in some jokes about this.
Oh yeah.
But Joel, that's such like an inside baseball of comedians who have done enough shows or have enough shows or history behind them that you were just like 30 before cake. Like no,
make people wait half an hour between dinner and cake. They want cake more than they want.
Yeah,
jokes
you should
right
say, be like, look, I understand if you do not think, if you're not going to laugh or you don't think I'm funny, because I'm the person that's me and time are the thing standing between you and cake.
Yeah. Yep, and it's a surprise. Like,
oh no,
oh, you're a surprise? No,
the lady it's her 80th birthday.
Oh no,
and
we need to have you back on because I need to hear how this goes.
So I talked to her and her husband about it and all that. And it's, what I found when you're talking with, for lack of a better term, like a potential client, saying things confidently, it's almost like if a plumber comes to your house and you're like, oh, my sink is clogged up, and they're like, oh, I know, actually it's under the house and here's the issue, and they just say it in a way where you're like, yeah, whatever you say. Like for them, they were like, we want to have comedy, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, maybe this budget. And I was like, actually, this is the budget, and here's how much time that will be
double the money half the time.
Yeah, a third of the time.
Actually tripled the but it is one of those things.
Is that your going rate? It is for 80-year-old birthday parties.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, we're not afraid to ask anymore. Not with a baby in tow.
I got a lead. I think it was on Gig Salad for a 90th birthday party, but it was next year. So
are you gonna make it?
They booked it. I got the request well over a year in advance, and I was like, I'm gonna need a non-refundable deposit. Look, I'm rooting for Grandma too, but I'm not marking this date off.
Is that the carrot they're dangling in front of Nana? Is Glenn Tickle, and she's like, I want a private show. Glenn Tickle is who I picked.
I need Glenn and I need 15 firefighters, and that's it. No one else.
And then Nana is not scheduling her 91st, if that is how she's going out at 90.
She's the stripper for the firefighters.
But I think I brought up the birthday party just because there's going to be kids to like grandkids to grandparents there.
Yeah.
So it's like a clean comedy for that audience versus clean comedy for just a night out, but it's kind of promoted as clean comedy. They're like two different styles. So there's no one way to define it. If your safest bet is to ask, if you're doing clean, ask them specifically what is clean, what is not clean.
I've said it before. I always ask I use the specific phrasing. Is there anything specific you don't want me to say or talk about? Because asking them that directly, it usually kind of puts people back on their heels where they're like, oh, I don't, I guess. And they do usually say, nothing like too political. It's not that I agree. I don't agree that saying like doing political material is not clean, but I think a lot of people who are seeking clean, because I think they really mean comfortable, don't want political material because they don't want to have their ideas challenged. And I think I also don't do a lot of political material on stage. I do a lot of it online, right? Because like if you're coming to my TikTok account or whatever, you're following me there, right? Like I'm not showing up at your event and being like, who'd you dummies vote for? It's like, no, you chose to follow me. Right, if you don't like my TikTok content, feel free to unfollow. But if I'm showing up at, your event and you say, hey, don't do anything too political. Yeah, I'm your guest here. If you're at the point where people are coming to see you specifically, I think that is when you can get away with more of like, look, you guys are here to see me specifically. You're not here for the idea of comedy, or you're not at work and your boss is making you stay after a day of meetings to watch this idiot talk for an hour. Like there's times where it does not inappropriate, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to do political comedy in a lot of the settings where I perform. I mean, even the Juggler did like some political jokes mid juggle, but like,
and man, did he get away with it.
Wow.
They were like kind of like the tamest middle of the road, trying to take a dig at both sides stuff where it's like, man, just throw the knife. And it's like I either commit to it.
One day I'm not going to need these knives and I can just do my vaguely political humor.
Commit to it and like, really take a stand on something, or just don't do it. Like,
no,
there's no less interesting political comedy to me than the people who are like, oh, I like make fun of everybody. I don't care. Then what do you do? Why? What are you doing it for? Like, it's my favorite kind of comedy. I want to learn about you as a person, right? If you're just like, oh yeah, both sides are bad, then I don't think you really believe that. I think you think that is the thing you have to say to get the most people to laugh at you.
Ooh, that's a good. I mean, but isn't that kind of what we're talking about? What we're doing? If it's clean,
but you don't agree, Ricky, that it's clean is comfortable? You have a different.
I think to say clean is coded for all the reasons we just said. There's
like
no
there's
reason.
a big overlap with like religious audiences. So like I said goddamn once on my last special, and I knew I would hear from people who know me from Dry Bar that are displeased with and it's like, sorry, that doesn't count to me. Like, I don't care. Like, I understand that like for very religious people, that's like the worst one I could say. But to me, it's whatever. And I'm not going to change how I talk for a small subset of a potential audience where it's like, hey, like it's not over the top, but also I tried that joke every other way, and that's the funniest way to say that line. So I don't know. You don't have to like every word that I say. It's fine. There's an F-bomb coming up on the next one.
I know, and we've
boy.
talked about this. We've talked about the Seinfeld thing of just like he's like,
Yeah.
I tried it, changing the F word at the end of the joke, but he's like, they're laughing at that. They're not laughing at this, the joke. And again, that is fine. That is his comfortability with who he is and what he wants to do. So if he wants to exercise it out and not do it, that is fine. But like for your joke, yeah, you've tried other different words with it, and it's
part of it too is, I mean, it is a joke, but it is also like the joke is hinged on the fact that I am legitimately angry about something. So I think it needs it to like convey that emotion of like, I can't be like, oh, because I'm gosh darn autistic. Like that doesn't land the same way.
Right.
But I'm trying to remember who I think you and Yoshi were talking to, Joel, on your wonderful podcast, Hot Breath, or if it was just a question that you guys got. But have you, I think somebody talked about this a couple weeks ago, but have you had the experience of you're asked to work clean, you do what you consider a clean show, and then after the fact, you find out that they don't think you did a clean show, like they take umbrage with something?
I don't know if I have personally.
I think it was a question you guys got where they talked about it, but again, my brain is trash. So
No, I mean, mine is. Yeah, I haven't.
To give you a second to think about it, like to give you a second to think about it, I did one.
We all said yeah at the same time. Yeah, dead brain.
Yeah. To give you a second to think about it, I did one where it was a church gig. I was very clean. And then I got an angry email from a woman who was mad that I talked about poop the whole time. And then I brought up TikTok because that's the work of the devil. And I was like, I didn't say the word poop once. I did one joke where I talked about the fact that I was potty training my daughter. But like, it's not a graphic. It's just that was the setting of the joke. That's what was going on when the joke happened. It's not a filthy joke. And then the TikTok thing, it's like, oh yeah, I did, but I didn't know that would be the thing that I'm getting an email about. In 100 years, I could have listed things that I thought would upset a church audience. Genuinely, never would have made the list.
I did a Valentine's Day show just for the parents. They actually had in their church, school, or whatever, all the kids being watched by the younger parishioners, whatever, so the adults could have a Valentine's night out in their cafeteria. And I asked, is there anything that you don't want to talk about? First thing is, whoever the booker that Glenn and I use sometimes, I didn't even know that this was a church event. I was told it was a Valentine's Day show for the community, and then it was this very religious church when I got there. So I was like, oh man, I was like, anything you don't want to hear about? Like what level?
Joel, you
like,
probably
rating?
know this person too.
Yeah,
we usually don't bring up his name because it's usually in context of like,
yeah, they don't ask.
It's rarely praise.
Yeah, it is. There's not a lot of details, and we've had to get real stringent. So earlier, what we were talking about,
we all keep working with them. It's not like
a number
it's
and
just
a
like
location is
yes.
basically yes.
And there's a guy like yes,
that's
but so I asked the booker, and I said, what kind of vibe and like what do you want for this? And he said PG-13. And I was like, late night talk show clean? And he's like, so that's where that kind of came from, the late night talk show clean. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. I was like, yep, 100%. I've done this enough. I know what that kind of show is. I was doing it. The comedian before me, who was incredibly offensive, Glenn and I talked about this one other time, and I think we figured out who it was, but now I don't remember. Audience didn't vibe with. I went up and got him on board. I had the audience. You know when you have the audience, you know when you don't. You know who I didn't have? the booker, who out of the corner of my eye was just like, and I was just like, I was like, but come on, buddy, like, look at the audience, like, they like this, like, they are into it, like, there's not anybody here that's just like, and I never, like, they're on board. But afterwards, like, I could just tell he was just like giving me the check, and he was just like, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry, pastor.
Yeah, I can't think of like a specific example. I'm sure it's happened sometime in my career. I mean, I don't want anyone to hear this and then think I've never cussed on stage or done anything like, I mean, certainly not like a paid gig, like, maybe an open mic or something, but I've never like slipped up accidentally at a gig and said like a cuss word or something when I wasn't supposed to. But I can't really think of someone getting upset after. I mean, I really try to just, I think like Glenn said, like comfortable. So I've had someone online say my comedy is a bit safe for them, or it's a bit boring or bland, but I just try to make it accessible, really.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing of Glenn and I promoted.
There's worse criticisms to have lobbed at you than like, oh, you're pretty safe.
It's pretty safe, and you're like, okay, good, because
I've gotten that one too.
I'm pretty
honestly.
safe. Yeah,
although not for a while. I remember like early on, people would point that out, and it's like, right, but I want everyone to have a nice time, and usually the people saying it were other comics who were just going up and like screaming about their dick for 20 minutes, and it's like, yeah, I mean, sure, you're not safe, but like you're also not that funny. So back to the original thing, it's like, I don't need to take advice from you if I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah,
we're promoting that audiences, you can laugh, but Glenn and I think that you can also boo.
How do you feel about bringing booing back as a acceptable form of feedback from an audience?
I miss it. Coming up in Atlanta, I did a lot of shows where people would get booed, or I would get booed. The venue would shut the lights off or shut the mic off, or jingle
that's
their
harsh.
keys at you. So I mean, I say we bring it back. These comics today have it too easy.
I'm telling you,
clips and their crowd work, and
like
we've been three middle-aged white dudes just being like, these comics today, they just got too easy.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah. We've been clear the other weeks we brought it up. Like, we don't mean you can heckle, right? We don't mean interrupt the show. But if someone
do not hijack the show by booing.
Rather than laugh for like you have the amount of time the other people are laughing at the joke to boo at the joke, I think is fair.
I think they need to bring it back for sure.
I'm 100. I've been doing it at open mics, and other comics don't enjoy it.
Now you're known as Glenn Tickle Booer.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, he doesn't respect the art. It's like, no, I respect the art. I don't respect you. And it's like, get better at the art, and then I'll shut up. Do a better job.
Mike, I'm only laughing when someone's bombing. I've literally had a comic say, "Oh, Joel's laughing. I must not be doing well."
Yeah.
I unfortunately, and I try not to have that superiority, because I will also laugh equally as hard when I like something. Like, I will guffaw. I'm a big guffawer, but I also do that when sometimes someone's bombing, because I'm just like, oh man, this is equal. It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000. They don't riff on the worst movies ever made. They riff on these movies that are pretty bad, but just are also like magic. And sometimes when someone's bombing and they have no awareness of the audience, those are usually the people that come off stage and they're incredibly delusional. They're just like, I killed up there. And it's just like, yeah, you did. Like, people died tonight.
Lives tonight. Did you?
In my 3-minute set.
But I know, Joel, you got to get out of here in a little bit. I agree. You've talked about it on Hot Breath too, where it's like the thing of asking the venue, like so many of your questions that you get from listeners, I would say fall into roughly 3 or 4 categories of essentially different versions of the same question. And that's one of them. People are like, how do I know if a joke's clean enough? Ask the person who booked you.
Yeah.
And I always recommend the phrasing that I use of, is there anything specific you want me to say? Because then after the fact, if you get an angry email from a 90-year-old woman because you said TikTok on stage, you're like, hey, I asked if there's anything they didn't want me to talk about. No one said don't bring up TikTok because it's the work of the devil. So no, I will not be refunding the church their money. That is my money now. In fact, I'm going to charge them double for having to deal with this.
Amen.
Like, ask the venue that booked you, not us or Joel. I think.
Yeah, each show is completely different, and like Ricky saying TV clean or late night talk show clean, like I think there is some assumption there that this may be a little political, or you may say a few things here or there, but it's not gonna overall.
But even that,
I'm
there's
happy to
FCC guidelines for words you are not allowed to say on television. But then there's also networks have standards and practices departments where just executives are deciding what jokes can and cannot be on the air, because sometimes they don't want you making fun of a sponsor, or they don't want you making fun of a guest that they have booked 3 weeks from now. Like stuff like that.
I have literally
for every show.
I have literally asked, even when that question happens and I don't feel like their answer, or they ask like, what does that mean? Late night TV show clean. And I said, oh, well, would you, like, I break it down like, are you cool with like Jon Stewart Colbert, or would you rather a Fallon, or I say like a Conan, or like, were you looking more like a Leno Carson? And I do not put Leno and Carson together, but in people's minds, that
I'm just
going to
make a quick note here so I can clip this out. Ricky says
Leno,
Johnny Carson and Jay Leno are the same.
The same, yeah. I heard that too.
But when the booker is asked that
October thing, bud.
But when you hear that, when the person hears that, because now there's the famous quote of Carson saying about like you said, not being political. And now Leno is basically towing the old Carson line, because he's always
both very
for the Tonight
comedians.
Show.
It's insane that anyone would say that they're not.
But when bookers hear that, like it makes sense to them when they pick who they pick. I'm just like, yep, I will move this joke. Like, I don't have to tell this joke. It's not going to change my set. It's just going to change what I would do or would not do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ask the booker if all else fails.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way to know it's clean, but comfortable. I like that, Glenn. I may have to.
I think that's where I've landed on it. We've talked about it for weeks and weeks now, and it's I'm not saying that to dismiss.
Can't be angry at comfortable.
I think it's what people who say they like clean comedy really mean. It is what I'm usually pretty happy to provide. But again, like, I mean, my special good grief is not comfortable for me at all, let alone the audience. The next hour that I'm doing deals a lot with like neurodiversity and autism, which is like not as hard for people to get on board with as, you know, an hour of jokes about my dead brother. But it is still like, I don't know, a topic some people either don't care about or aren't comfortable hearing jokes about. And again, like I've talked about it before, there's the one joke where I know, right, I don't see it changing, but right now it's like, yeah, I swear more in this than I have recently. I just don't like being told what to do, I think is what it is. Where it's like, yeah, I'm probably going to be clean, but it's because I want to be, not because you told me to. Like,
I don't want to be told what to do, except for when you ask, are there things that you don't want me to do? And they say, don't do this. Well, and then you decide if it's worth it or not.
Hilarious.
So my friend Jason Brown always makes the point. He's like, no one's ever asked me to be dirtier on stage. And
I've been asked if I had a dirty clip
a handful of times. But I've been doing cruises lately, and there's like a late night show where they're like, this is the one where you can be dirty. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's just going to be me kind of casually swearing in the middle of otherwise clean jokes.
Yeah,
right.
And they're like, well, no, we just mean you can. This is the one where you can be dirtier than the one that children are going to be sitting in the front row. So they're not saying, hey, we want your filthy, get up there and get nasty, you little dirty bird. They're just like, this, if you're going to swear on one of these shows, can it please be this one, and not the one where, you know, the Platinum Diamond Club's 7-year-old is sitting front row center. And it's like, yeah, oh no, I can do that. But I was worried when they brought it up the first time. It's like, oh God, even at my dirtiest, I'm like a 80s PG-13, you know, where it's like, it's not going to be that dirty. Somebody might get their heart torn out of their chest, but you know,
we could talk about dirty. I mean, 16 Candles.
Breakfast Club.
Yep. There's some
a lot going on in there.
Yeah, there's some questionable stuff. But Joel, thank you for coming on. I want to please, if we didn't scare you off, come back and I want to hear the tale of the 80-year-old birthday party and how that went.
Sure.
Yeah. I will
Yeah.
someday get to Atlanta other than your airport.
Same.
Too. Every time I'm down there and I have a layover, like, is this enough time that I should call Joel and let him know I'm in town? Can I leave the airport?
Could we
Get
go
coffee with
do
this
an
guy?
open mic at a bar that
That
like where we'll go in, they'll be like, wait, you guys have dry bars? Like, this show's now yours.
Because now it's like, I've known you for 6 years. We've never actually met. And I've been in and out of the Atlanta airport a number of times. Where it's like, oh, should I? But I feel like it's never enough time that I'm comfortable leaving and trying to get back through security.
Yeah. That's
Someday.
Once you're in, you're in. It's its own city.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely whenever you guys are in Atlanta, let me know. And anyone listening and wants to reach out with questions or wants to book me, just go to my website, joelbyerscomedy.com.
Yeah. If you're newer to stand up, I highly recommend Joel's podcast, Hot Breath. They handle a lot of questions from other comics. Jake Hovis, you just had a question on there. We've talked about him on the show before. He and I did a show in Canada together where I was pretty sure I was going to die in a Canadian hospital, but he had a great question about like measuring your progress over time. So check out the most recent episode of Hot Breath to hear that. We should have Jake on at some point. Very funny guy. Tell us about the monthly show. I know you've mentioned it on your show and here, but
yeah, in the Atlanta area at the Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center, I do a monthly clean-ish show there called Funny Fridays, which has been a lot of fun and a great local work, which, you know, with a baby, that's always good when you can drive to work. It always feels good. And I also host online a monthly clean comedy contest for people that want to write new clean jokes. It's a monthly contest where the winner gets $100 that I do on my Patreon as well. So
nice. Wow. I love a comedy contest. I mean, online that you can actually make money, and that's I didn't think it $100.
And is Right 10 still happening? I know you're not hosting it anymore, but Right 10 during the pandemic.
It used to be a live stream. Now it's like a writing prompt in the Facebook group. But yeah, I don't do the live stream anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, it was just I did it every day for over 400 days and then cried online and then quit.
Oh yeah, I remember. I wasn't in there every day, but I would dip it if I happened to. We
all cried over COVID stuff. Mine was Weekend Pup Date. Yours was Right 10. And I was doing Right 10 to help with like writing during COVID. Yeah. Oh,
it's tough when you have kids. So like mine are 7 and 12 now. So it's like, oh yeah, if I don't have to actively feed a child and I got 10 minutes at 10 o'clock, I'll dip in. It was always like a good exercise. And it's one of those things where like I always tell people get into like a solid writing habit and like try to do it every day, do it at the same time. It's really helpful. Yeah. I've never done it myself. It's like I can give people
I've never practiced what I preach.
I should I know I should also do this. I'm not going to, but maybe you can.
Thank you, Joel. I do want to have you back on for the 80th. And I also, just to talk more, I felt like this episode was more the business and ideology of comedy. I would like to hear how you've now transitioned or approached comedy with being a father.
Absolutely.
With having a child.
Yeah, I would love to get into that next time for sure, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Joel.
All right. See you later, Daddios.
Bye.
Bye.